Green Bay Packers OTAs day one is now in the books with all the new rookies and free agents coming to practice for the first time for the 2025 offseason. It's now in the books, so I wanted to go over all the biggest notes and takeaways from today's OTA. Now, OTAs did start yesterday, but today was the first day that was open to the media, and the next and final day of OTAs open to the media is this next Tuesday after the weekend. Then we have a little bit of a break there. Then we have mandatory minicamp. I just released a video an hour ago with all the highlights from the warm-up sessions during today's OTAs practice. So if you want to see that video as well, go head over to my channel. You'll see it right under this one. And if you happen to be a new viewer here and want to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers throughout this offseason, there'll be highlights, updates, notes, takeaways from every single practice open to the media this offseason. You'll find it here all on this channel. So definitely go down and click that subscribe button. All right, so let's dive right down into it for today's OTA practice. Let's first go over attendance, who was there and who wasn't there. Now, keep in mind, this is a voluntary practice. You are not required to show up to OTAs. So keep that in mind and take the attendance with a grain of salt. Also, the injury attendance. The Packers are always cautious with their injuries. This is very early in the offseason. If a player wasn't participating today or they were rehabbing today, that doesn't necessarily mean they have a serious injury. So in terms of the players not present in the first OTA here open to the media, Jaire Alexander, Elgton Jenkins, John Williams, Tyron Herring, and Brandon McManus. Now, to no one's surprise, Jaire Alexander absent from OTAs. The report came out yesterday that said even if a contract isn't worked out, a restructured contract, he'll still show up to mandatory minicamp, which obviously it being mandatory, he'll show up to that one, but this is, again, voluntary, so I didn't expect Jaire to show up to this one. Same with Elgton Jenkins. This is no surprise. He wants a reworked contract due to him moving over to center. He wants more guarantees because, you know, he's done a lot for this Packers offensive line, moved wherever they wanted him to, and of course he wants to have guarantees. So until that gets figured out, I don't see Elgton Jenkins showing up. I'm sure he'll be here for mandatory minicamp, but I don't expect either Jaire or Elgton to be here at any parts during OTAs. Not too sure on the rest with John Williams. The Packers already signed him to his rookie contract, so maybe a personal thing. Same with Tyron Herring, an undrafted free agent out of the University of Delaware they signed, and then same thing with Brandon McManus. Not really sure why he wasn't at OTAs today. Now, in terms of players rehabbing, so this could mean a injury they suffered last year or an injury they have now. It wasn't disclosed what type of injuries were for each player, but Christian Watson was rehabbing. We saw him during warm-ups in the Don Hutson Center and moving around pretty nicely, and we also have an update on him from Matt LaFleur after this practice, which we'll get into here in a second. Quay Walker was also part of the rehab. Marshawn Lloyd, I hate seeing that name on here. I don't know what the injury is, but it seems like the guy can't catch a break, and I hope it's not anything significant because we continue to see him on that injured list. Nesta Jade Silvera, guy they signed to a futures contract after the season. Colin Oliver, their fifth-round selection at edge. John Fitzpatrick, Warren Brinson, and Jeremiah Martin were all rehabbing. And another important note is Savion Williams was in a red non-contact jersey. Now, funny enough, quarterbacks wear the red jerseys, and we know Savion can play all over the offense, but I believe it was for the reason of it being a non-contact jersey. He still was moving around in warm-ups a little bit there, but obviously didn't take part in team drills or whatnot. But again, these injuries weren't disclosed. Maybe they will be, maybe they won't be, but I wouldn't be worried too much about a player being on this list this early in the offseason. As for some lineups in 7v7s and 11v11s, one main thing we are watching OTAs for is how will the offensive line up. There's been a lot of moving parts. We're trying to understand what that starting five is going to look like, and Elgton Jenkins was absent, so keep that in mind, but the starting offensive line in team sessions was as follows: Rasheed Walker at left tackle, Aaron Banks at left guard, Jacob Monk at center, Sean Ryan at right guard, and Zach Tom at right tackle. So Sean Ryan was starting warm-ups at starting center, but then when they moved to team sessions, it was Jacob Monk, but Sean Ryan was center number 2 behind Jacob Monk. I thought Monk would become center number 2 behind Elgton Jenkins, so he obviously started at center today. So that's something that's not too much of a surprise there. Now, you might be wondering, where is Jordan Morgan? Well, he took snaps at starting right guard eventually, but he was also taking snaps at left tackle number 2. So although the Packers view him at left tackle, for the future, his time at right guard might not be done if he ends up winning that job this offseason. Also, Anthony Belton, their second-round rookie, did get reps at both tackle spots. I was under the impression that this guy would end up playing guard. We'll see if they start giving him reps there. Again, this is just the first practice of OTAs. A lot can change from now until minicamp. We've seen that time and time again every year, but Anthony Belton did get reps at left tackle number 2, right tackle number 2, and right tackle number 3. Another quick note on offense, the Packers lined up in 12 personnel a lot with obviously Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. This is to be expected. Hopefully both of these players can remain healthy for 2025. I don't think we've had a full healthy season of both of these tight ends, and I think if that is the case, yes, the Packers will be running a lot of 12 personnel, which I'm all about. As for lineups for the defense, the defensive backfield in base, so a base 4-3 was as follows. It was Xavier McKinney and Javon Bullard at safety, although Javon Bullard didn't participate in team drills. Evan Williams came in with a little bit of Zane Anderson as well. Keyshawn Nixon and Nate Hobbs were your outside cornerbacks. I talked about this in the highlight video, and I've been talking about it all offseason, that Nate Hobbs is going to be a versatile piece that can play outside, can play inside. He showed that he could do that in Las Vegas, and in base, he's an outside corner for the Packers, or a boundary guy they view him as, and I think in pure passing downs, third and long, second and long, they can slide him into the nickel, which is exactly what they did. The lineup in nickel was pretty much the same thing, but Carrington Valentine came in at outside cornerback, and Nate Hobbs slid into the slot. Another very important note was that Gregory Jr., a new cornerback signing, I think it was last week we signed him, a former Jaguar 6th-round pick, saw a lot of snaps in the nickel today as the nickel cornerback number 2. Obviously, with Javon Bullard not participating in teams, it seems like Gregory Jr. Was offered that role in today's practice. Very important to note there, as this is someone that could be a dark horse to make the roster due to cornerback depth. As for linebackers, it was Edgerrin Cooper, Tyron Hopper, and Isaiah McDuffie, with Quay Walker rehabbing, and also Kenny Clark didn't participate in team sessions today. As for some big plays to note from today's practice, the biggest play of the day was Jordan Love hitting Dontavian Wicks on a deep corner route for 60-plus yards for a would-be touchdown in 7v7s. A very strong start for Tay Wicks. He needs this type of offseason, hopefully to have a great bounce-back season here in year 3. He did lead the Packers receiver room in targets last year, so he'll definitely get the opportunities. Another big play was Malik Willis hitting Luke Musgrave on a corner route over Zane Anderson in the 2-minute drill. Nate Hobbs had 2 impressive pass breakups against both Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave in 7v7 portions, and also Jordan Love to Josh Jacobs on a wheel route for a big gain in the 2-minute drills. It was a pretty light practice. Again, OTAs are non-padded. It's not like training camp where we're seeing full-fledged 100% 11v11 periods or anything of that sort. We're just getting into the groove of things and starting to see the flow, but more importantly, a lot of where players are lining up and where the rookies are lining up and whatnot. That's what we're watching for today. Some other notes: Matt LaFleur after practice said he was very optimistic about Christian Watson's progress rehabbing from his ACL tear, and said, quote, "Christian is doing outstanding. I would say he's ahead of schedule." So I think a lot of us in our mind thought Christian Watson at minimum is out until week 12, but if he is in fact ahead of schedule and stays ahead of schedule, maybe we end up seeing Christian Watson before week 12, and the thought of him and Matthew Golden in this offense, I think, can definitely terrify some defenses. Another note that I have, this one's very interesting. Matt LaFleur says there was a time last year where Edgerrin Cooper was 220 pounds. Now he's up to 240 and still flying around. Also notes he's playing with more confidence. Man, the potential is absolutely off the charts for Edgerrin Cooper. I said it in my highlight video. I don't think there's a single linebacker in the NFL right now with as high a stock as Edgerrin Cooper in terms of the potential in 2025. I'm super excited for him in this defense, and I honestly think he could become like the best defender on the Packers. I mean, we saw what he's capable of last year and what he can do in this defense, and the way different ways Jeff Hafley can use him. So super excited about year 2 for Edgerrin Cooper. So those are all the updates, keynotes, and takeaways I have from the first OTA practice for the Packers for this 2025 offseason. Again, the next session open is this coming Tuesday, so be on the lookout for the highlight video as well as the takeaway video. Really appreciate you guys coming by to the channel. Hit the like button down below if you did enjoy the video. I'll catch you on the next one, and as always, go Pack Go.